Hello guys, thank you so much for joining me yet again. I greatly appreciate you coming here. As many of you may have noticed, there has been quite a big gap in between my last video and this one. Good reason for that. I'm actually writing the book as we speak. I am currently about 15,000 words into the book. We'll definitely get into the specifics about word count, things like that. A bit about research into the kind of book you want to write is coming up as well. So in this episode, we're going to talk about the writing process and hopefully get you guys a bit more motivated if you are sort of looking at a very long, daunting process, which it is, but it doesn't have to feel that way. Maybe. So basically in this one, we're going to look at the fact that we have now taken the note cards that we have written in the previous episode. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's part of the writing process that I live by. I basically have taken all those note cards, put them in chronological order, put them into an outline, and that outline is what you will be basically working from. Now again, this is a refinement process. Now again, the writing process is a pretty fluid one. You should in no way ever feel locked into something. Just at any time, if you decide to change path, you can do that. However, you do need to know where you want to go with it. It's completely fine to look at something on your outline or possibly note cards and say, you know, I just don't think it fits in this. That's awesome, that's great. That's a lot of thought going into it. You're potentially seeing roadblocks that could very well derail your whole story, so good for you. Get rid of it. If you think that you can't use it, get rid of it. So just getting right into it, let's talk about the whole thing. You now should have somewhat of a bullet point outline. This is your whole story. Now, that's not saying you have to be married to it. You can change things up at the last minute as long as you know that what you are changing should fit within the rest of the outline. If not, then that is a big, big issue. This will essentially put you back a couple of steps. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of times where I've written things that I'm like, I just don't think that this is going in the right direction. And I've scrapped the last third, sometimes the last half. Whatever it is, you have to be prepared to basically go back a step, outline yet again, take a look at it, and if it makes sense and it is a fluid story, that's great, go for it. However, at a certain point, you do need to actually sit down and write this thing. As you can see, I'm going to be crossing off things as I hit those milestones in the actual book. This is a rough draft, guys. Don't worry so much about the grammar. Just get it out, get it onto the page, move on, keep it going. This is a big, big thing. Now, I say a lot of big things in my presentations here, but momentum is so important. A lot of people don't really focus on that, though they should. One thing that is very helpful is to actually have that outline next to you as you're writing, and as you hit these milestones, you literally cross them off. This is a huge motivational factor for me. I think it could help you as well. So as for the actual writing process, the number one biggest thing, obviously, is that first few words that you put down on that page. It is a big, blank, empty abyss, and it will be filled with your words, and that can sometimes seem like a daunting task that may make you want to reconsider this whole thing. Don't. Just start chipping away, start putting those words down, and get on with it. You're going to come across a lot of things. Now, writing is one of the hardest things you can get into. Distractions, everyday life, just about any excuse you could come up with is a valid excuse to stop writing. Maybe you're hungry, maybe you gotta catch something on TV, maybe you need to send off an email. And I tell you right now that you need to block out all of those things. You have to focus, focus, focus. One of the best things that I do is that I set up word count goals. So every day, I will say, you know what, I'm going to write 500 words. It's actually not a lot, and that's sort of the point. I have a weekly planner, and then on the side it has little notes, and I put at least 3 check boxes that say 500 words, 500 words, 500 words. So within that week, I am going to sit down and hit 500 words every single day I sit down to write. Now, a very small goal. The great thing about that is that I blow way past that usually every day that I do write, and by the end of the week, I'm not just 1,500 words into it, I am like 2,500 words through. So that's part of it, is that you sort of psych yourself into hitting higher goals without really meaning to, but you kind of are meaning to do it, right? The number one thing that I can really stress for you is to keep going and keep the momentum going. It's okay to take a day off every so often here and there. It's okay to have somewhat of an erratic schedule because life happens and I get it. However, you need to keep the ball moving. So I got COVID, I couldn't do anything, even though it would have been a perfect time to sit down and write nonstop. I just didn't. Netflix was calling me. So I basically took about a week, then a week became a week and a half, and then it became like 2 weeks. So I had a 2-week break, and then by the time I sat down to start writing again, it just started to drag on, and every word seemed like endless torture. And so I made it through that day. I hit my 500-word goal, even though it felt like I was writing 5,000 words. The next day, the 500-word goal was not that bad. And then I had to build up, and now I'm back in the swing of things, and I can actually hit those 500 words relatively with no problem. Even if you are feeling bad, keep it going. There's going to be tons of things that happen in your life, and I'm not sure where you are in your lives. Some of you are probably really young, maybe you're going through a breakup, and that can completely stop everything. Your whole life comes to an end. I get it. Take time, lick your wounds, but then essentially get back on that saddle. You got to get back to it quickly, fast. Take my word for it. I didn't realize how far along I really was because I was just writing and looking back at that outline, and then next thing I knew, I thought there were 2 more pages of outline left, and actually it was just 1. I did add a few things in between, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you know that you are doing that, and you got to be aware that that could possibly have effects on the rest of the story. I had mentioned earlier in this video that I had a 500-word count for the day, and how that 500 words actually equates to 5 pages. Now, a lot of you out there will realize, well, that kind of doesn't equate to 5 pages. How could that? And this is it. The books that I am essentially going to be in line with are Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Timmy Failure, a couple of others along those lines. And what I did was I went through those books and did an average word count for every page. Every book across the board that was in that same genre had a 100-word average. So from there I was able to guess, well, you know, these books are about 200 pages, I'm gonna look to hit 20,000 words. So that gave me the rough ideas to the word count that I would want for my book. Now, at about 15,000 words, 16,000 words that I'm at right now, it's 150 pages, 160 pages. That's pretty good. I could feel like I'm not ripping people off at this point. And also, one of the things is that you probably realize that those books have a ton of little illustrations in them. So that's another thing that I need to factor in, at least for time-wise. But with that idea of 100 words per page, I then have a very solid understanding as to where I am in terms of how that book would look if I were to stop right now at 16,000 words, 160 pages. I'm cool with that. That looks great. That's a thick book. I certainly do not want to have this to look like one of those books that I aspired to compete with, and it's only 25 pages long. I mean, that's a problem. So for this, I'm pretty happy. Obviously, I do have a ways to go. I am essentially at the conclusion. I'm wrapping things up rapidly, and I just don't want the ending to drag because I do have ideas for the second one. As I was writing this, I got a whole bunch of ideas for the second one, and it would be completely bonkers. I'm so looking forward to sharing more of it with you, especially with some of the character designs I've been noodling around with. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's obviously a ton more work to go. This is just part of the whole thing. The writing aspect is a very, very big part. However, it is still just a part. So nonetheless, I appreciate you joining me. And as always, be like water, my friends.